Hi guys, welcome to the interesting video on Wild Rifts. We're back with patch 2.4D review. Now honestly, if I'm not mistaken, we have never had a D patch before. Like, it always only went up to C and then we get the next patch, which is why I said 2.4C is gonna last all the way until 13th of October, where we will get 2.5. But clearly I was wrong, so 2.4D is out today. And yeah, as I said, honestly, I believe that this is the first time we got a D patch. Like, I think it has never happened before. Actually, I'm relatively, like, 99% sure it's never happened before, because I've actually covered the, what's it called? The patch, the meta recap is what it's called. I've actually called the meta recap, and I don't remember ever covering a D patch. So I'm pretty sure that this never happened. But anyways, let's just jump into it. It's going to be a really quick one. There are only very, very few changes. So, excuse me, the first change is Blitzcrank. So Blitzcrank, his W, mana cost going down by 25, which is quite a significant amount considering it's 75 to 50. Movement speed going up by 5% only. It's nothing to write home about, really. So now, as I always say, Blitzcrank, as long as they don't revert or don't buff his hook width, honestly, it's just going to be whether you are a Blitzcrank player or not. So if you are a Blitzcrank player already who can hook people already, all these buffs, you're gonna like it. If you're not a Blitzcrank player, honestly, these buffs really don't mean a lot. Like, all the buffs that Blitzcrank gets are not really too huge, although accumulatively they do make a difference, but overall I honestly think it doesn't really matter too much. So unless you play Blitzcrank, you probably these buffs probably won't affect you all that much at all. Mundo has probably the most interesting change, which is, firstly, his Q is damage is versus monsters is more or less getting halved at the early levels, and even if you max it, there's still a 100 damage difference. So basically, they want to remove Mundo from the jungle, where personally I don't even think it was a very strong pick. I have seen it played here and there, but I personally don't think it's a very strong pick because he doesn't really have any CC for ganks. But yeah, so they don't want Mundo in the jungle, but they're giving him what I see as a buff overall. So here, his health regen per level is going from 0.81 to 1.07, which basically means at max level, his health regen is going from 21 to 24, whereas his ultimate is getting a nerf, where the total health regen is going down by 10% at all ranks, but compensated by this buff. So overall, your general normal health regen without your ult is more, and your ult gives less, but of course your innate health regen is more important. Now, it can be argued that the ult regen is more important because you use it when you really need it, but how many times are there where you're not at full health, you're just walking around, where this innate health regen is going to be useful? So overall, I see this as maybe not necessarily a buff, but I don't see it as a nerf. Definitely, I think it's like kind of like status quo, maybe slight buff, maybe slight nerf, but it's too early to tell. But I honestly don't think this is a nerf at all. I think that this is just a change, like it's compensated, the change is compensated here and vice versa. So yeah, Senna, her miss wave spawn rate on minion kills is going down from 7 to 3%. So apparently either some people are playing her as AD carry Senna where she farms, or she just last hits minions like when no one else is around, and the drop rate is still, they consider it too high, so she scales a little bit too fast. So to solve the problem, they're just lowering the chance by 4%, cutting it like basically more than half to 3%. Now personally, how big do I think this change is? I think it doesn't matter at all. Like, if you're a good Senna player, you wouldn't be farming anyway. Like, all good Senna players are fasting, whether you're playing ADC or support role. Generally, the other person in your lane is taking the farm anyways if you're playing Senna correctly. Although, yeah, like sometimes like your lane partner dies, you have to farm. It sort of hurts a little bit to not get as much high drop rate on the souls, but even so, like 7% wasn't that high to begin with, so I really don't think it matters all that much. Thresh has been getting a couple of buffs, and this is the latest installment in the Thresh buffs, which is his bonus attack damage granted per soul is actually going up and actually doubling. So in case you guys didn't know, when like his E, like when you charge it, you get a attack, but this is not what that's talking about. This is talking about just the fact that his passive souls give you stats, like for example armor. So it's basically doubling the attack damage you get per per stack on your E, so that is of course very helpful. Now it's not a huge change, but it will stack up with the previous Thresh buffs. Not previously. Honestly, I don't think Thresh really needs buffs. I just feel like he's one of those champions like Irelia and Katarina where it takes like maybe one entire major patch, like for example 2.4 to 2.5 or more, for people to actually master him or learn him. And honestly, playing as an ADC, I almost never run into Thresh. Like Thresh isn't really picked or banned very often, like in my games at least, and I'm in like high emerald almost to diamond. I don't see Thresh picked a lot in my game, so I think that people are like generally not playing him a lot. Although in normals I do see him quite a bit, so maybe people are just still practicing Thresh, and people just haven't really gotten good at Thresh in general. So maybe that's why. But I don't really think he needs so much buffs, because I do think that when people are good at him, he's gonna be good. So next up we have Xayah, which surprisingly, despite me rating it very high, apparently Riot agrees with the vast majority of people that think that she is underpowered. So they have actually increased her AD per level, which means that at max level you get 13 more AD, putting you from 102 to now 115. Now, the thing about this is that honestly, it is not a huge change. Like 13 AD is roughly like one longsword, so you get about 500 gold worth of extra stats at max level. But honestly, how much difference is that gonna make? Probably not that much of a difference. It is gonna make a difference, no doubt, because more AD of course is good, but I don't think it's gonna be that huge of an impact. You may not even realize it or may not even feel it, because it's only like roughly 1 AD more per level. So yeah. Lastly, a much needed nerf on Zed. So his E is getting nerfed, where his base damage is going down at higher ranks, as you guys can see here. But at base rank is still the same. You max E as your second ability, so it will affect your damage a bit. And considering the fact that his ult actually is affected by how much damage he does with his E as well, this is technically an indirect nerf to Zed's ult damage and therefore his overall damage. So this is something to note. So his bonus AD ratio also going down by 10%, which also will be a further nerf to the damage. So kind of something to take note is that it does kind of matter. So how much is it going to impact Zed and the game, we'll have to see. But I do expect it to at least have some sort of an impact. I don't think it's going to be a pointless change, to say the least. So that's pretty much it. It's just like, I think it's just like 6 champions. Yeah, just 6 champions who got changed. Very, very small patch again. So thank you guys for watching the video, and goodbye.